I'm gonna say something, and it's probably gonna piss off the He-Man purists out there. But Masters of the Universe Revelations Part 2 is probably the single greatest piece of He-Man anything we've ever gotten. Part 2 is absolutely fucking amazing. The music's amazing, the characters are amazing, the fights are absolutely dope as shit. Damn! And the only problem is part 2 is tainted by, in my opinion, 3 bad episodes from part 1. So, I don't even remember if I did a thing for part 1. I probably did a review for part 1 way, way back. And I was not a fan of part 1 in its entirety. So, Teela more or less operates as the character that we follow through the series. She's essentially the main character for part 1. We follow it from her perspective, discovering that Adam is He-Man, feeling the betrayal of basically Queen Marlena and Man-at-Arms and Orko all knowing that Adam is He-Man, and her being left out of the loop in a way to protect her from all of the cosmic bullshit. Focusing on Teela's character and not doing a good job of explaining her anger and her rage made the first 3 episodes poor. Like, it kind of made it unbearable. Because essentially what you have is a character who you can feel that vibe of anger. But when you sit down and you give it even 2 seconds of thought, you're like, your anger really doesn't make any sense. Like, he had valid reasons not to tell you that he was He-Man. First off, he was told not to tell you by both his mother and your father. Second off, if he had told you, you'd have just been one other person inside the loop whose life was literally in danger every single fucking day because Skeletor needed to know who this man was. He had his reasons. Maybe if you just sat down and talked. No, you don't want to talk to him. You want to be mad at Adam, and okay. First 3 episodes, absolutely unbearable. Going into part 2, complete switch. Part 2 is a duality. And I would say that there are probably 3 characters in part 2 that we follow who are the main characters. Evelyn is one, Teela is still one, and Adam is the other one. And I think shifting between these 3 characters, at least their perspectives on Eternia and life, absolutely fucking fantastic. Because you get different philosophies from the different characters. For Adam, his philosophy is essentially being a mountain with a sword that protects the people behind him. For Teela, her philosophy is basically the mountain is nice, but it's a lot better when people essentially work together to accomplish a common good. I would even say Skeletor can be thrown in there as a fourth one. For Skeletor, it's basically power. He wants to rule and reshape everything in his own image because basically at his core, he's empty. And for Evelyn, her journey is definitely the more interesting one because you learn more of her character's backstory. You learn why it is that she's the way that she is, essentially. And it makes you literally ask like tough questions. Like, if you were someone who has only known the shittiest sides of humanity, would you go to bat to try and save humanity? Or if you had the power, would you just snuff humanity out? So the philosophical debates that are happening are absolutely fantastic. All those are happening on the side. All those are great. But when the throwdowns happen, He-Man versus Skeletor, Skeletor versus Evelyn, Man-at-Arms versus like all the B characters, a giant war, Battle Cat versus Panthro. Like, when those fights are all happening, beautifully done. Absolutely beautifully done. And the series definitely sets up for a really dope crossover in the future that I'm super hyped to see exactly where it's gonna go. But yeah, It's so fucking good. Like, it's so good that I'm thinking of like all the stuff that I've seen, and I want to go back and watch it in its entirety. But at the same time, I don't want to watch the first 3 episodes of season one. I feel as though like if you want to get into the series and you want to enjoy it, when you go to Netflix and it shows you the descriptions for the episode, whatever episode it is that has them go to hell, which is Preternia. Is it Preternia? I can't even remember the name of like their hell. Their hell is called Subternia, right? I think it's Subternia. Whatever episode happens with Subternia, watch that episode forward, jump into part two. Part two is absolutely fantastic. Part two, in my opinion, is a masterpiece. If I ever did a scoring system, I'd probably give part two a 9 out of 10, and I probably only dock it 1 point because I feel as though it doesn't delve into a certain aspect of a relationship, a platonic relationship, that I actually was kind of like, but then nothing really came of it, and then like the character kind of got unceremoniously ejected, and I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, He-Man, it's not even called He-Man, Masters of the Universe Revelations Part 2, way better than Part 1. It is definitely one hell of a ride. I think you will absolutely love it. If you're someone who only ever watched the original He-Man, come back, check this out. It's on Netflix. It's super dope. I'm going to be putting up other things in regards to it, like where the ending of part 2 is going to take us in a part 3, who the crossover is going to be with, how bad is it now that a certain place is gone, what's going to happen to like Adam and the sorceress and everything that's going on, and literally all the revelations that we discovered in this series. But yeah, check it out. He-Man Revelations Part 2. Absolutely. I've probably said this like 3 times because it is fucking good. It's really fucking good. Check it out.